Yeah, kid! Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Handsome Homebuyer podcast. I am Charles, aka the Handsome Homebuyer, aka Captain Permit. If you have a house that smells like cat pee, is dated from the 1960s, has 6 inches of mold on the wall, or human waste floating past the basement steps, I want to buy it. You know who to call. 516-777-SOLD. If you're an investor, a realtor, a mortgage broker, an attorney, if you do anything in real estate involving construction, closings, sales, you need, that's right, the Captain Permit. 516-513-8838. We handle the process start to finish, the expediting, the plans, the surveying, you name it, we do it. And most importantly, we pick up the phone and we call you back. You would think that that's not a big deal, but in this world, it is a very big deal. We service every township, every county, every building department on Long Island. Not Queens yet, but I feel like Queens is coming in the not so distant future.
And he's right too. They do pick up the phone, not like some of these other jerk-offs.
That's my guest, Barry White, in the background, who I'm going to introduce in a minute. But again, 516-513-8838. All right, today's guest is a very, very close friend of mine. He is a top producer currently at Century 21. He was the number 2 agent at Prudential, which was really number 1 because the assistant manager was number 1, and that doesn't really count. We know that's a bunch of bullshit. He is an award-winning agent, right? He is a sneaker-obsessed Nigerian hustler, Femi Adebanjo.
What's up?
I can say with extreme certainty, after all the podcasts I've done, that you have the sexiest radio voice of any of the guests. No disrespect to any of our guests before. Obviously, me myself have more of like a nasally Jew voice, so I'm not really the Barry White of podcast.
Okay, I sound like I should be on the airplane, right?
Like if real estate doesn't
pan out for me,
you have a serious career in the 1-900 number business.
Okay,
because there's a lot.
You gotta mix it up a little bit. So whatever's gonna work, right?
There's a lot of lonely women out there that would love to hear you whisper into the phone. that I will say. So I mean, obviously we're really good friends. We've known each other for a while. We have our once a month lunch with
Beth Lowe.
Fabulous Beth Lowe.
Yes. What's up, Beth?
So there's a bunch of things I want to touch on with you. I think the real main points before we get into like how you got into this and just your overall hustle in general, your work ethic, is as an agent, most agents I know, they cover a certain area, like they'll work Wantagh, Merritt, Belmar, or they'll work specifically Levittown.
Right.
You have found, and they found that to be more efficient, and that kind of makes sense. I'm with that.
Right.
But you found a way to excel in multiple counties across New York. You do Queens, you do Brooklyn, you do Nassau and Suffolk, and you have a very strong understanding of all those markets, which is rare. On top of that, you do something that I know every real estate agent wants to do, because I teach continuing education of real estate investing for realtors.
Right.
And every realtor...
Great class too.
Oh, thank you.
I've taken it, so I know.
Every realtor in that joint wants to invest in real estate and wants to flip houses. And I always say it's a very, very, very difficult thing. It's not impossible, because I don't think anything's impossible, but it's a very difficult thing because, if you're in the position, you want to sell real estate, but if you're doing a flip, you're going to end up being in Home Depot picking out tile and dealing with contractor bullshit, and ultimately your real estate business is going to suffer.
It's going to suffer, right.
But you've somehow mastered the art of working in Brooklyn in the morning, Suffolk and Copeg in the afternoon, and, doing 2 flips at the same time. So I think we got to get to all that so you can kind of give your words of wisdom to agents out there who want to be doing what you're doing.
Okay.
Because I don't really even know how you pull it off. So I guess
we both know it's not, whatever you're doing is not easy. I think it's really just the amount of time and the dedication that you put into it. It's really all about a balance, but it's not, like you said, the shit it's not easy, man.
It's never easy.
It's never easy. I don't know how you do it. So
well, it's different. You also you have a family, you're a real adult. I'm still I'm a 39-year-old child, basically. I'm still having my mom do my laundry and stealing food from her. You're like a real adult with responsibilities. So I guess the first thing let's delve into is kind of take me back to, how you found real estate, a little bit about your upbringing. I know you were born here and then you moved back to Nigeria, which is not comment. I don't get a lot of people in here that grew up in Nigeria.
Right.
And then you came back and the hustle began. So kind of take me through that.
Okay. Well, I was born in Brooklyn.
What part of Brooklyn? I was born in Brooklyn.
In Flatbush. I was born in Kings County Hospital, actually.
Okay. I think that's where I was born in Canarsie.
Oh, okay. Well, not too far. You figure, 15, 20 minutes
Did
away.
Canarsie have a hospital?
I don't know that they do.
I think I was
Maybe
born...
they did back in the day.
I don't know. All right. So Brooklyn, and then you go back to Nigeria.
Yeah, so my dad decides to take us back to Nigeria. So
He was born and raised there, I assume.
Yeah. I lived here for 2 years, and then he took us all back to Nigeria, and we lived there for 8 years. I don't know why he did it. I'm thinking maybe for the discipline with the education, what have you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Education system, when you look at what happens here and also what happens out of New York or really out of the country, is a lot different.
Do you feel that it was a better education system in
I
Nigeria?
think it was a lot better, because it seems like here a lot of the teachers are scared to teach the kids. They only want to take it but so far, but it's like some people need that, I don't know if you want to say, crack in the head.
Well, I mean, dude, now everybody's a bunch of pussies. Like
That's true.
You can't say anything, do anything. It's terrible.
It's terrible. You're absolutely right.
This is why I don't work in corporate America. I would be fired day one for saying something that was politically incorrect.
Yeah, I couldn't work in corporate America anymore. I mean, if I had to babysit somebody's kids, I'd probably knee him in the spine. So, because the way that I was raised, you respect your elders, and if you're not going to respect your elders, you are going to get cracked in the forehead. So, how I was raised is how, if I was babysitting somebody's kid, they would basically get it the same way. You know what I mean?
I mean, and it works to a certain extent. I mean, you have a crazy work ethic, you have a lot of discipline, and it obviously shows. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of those reasons why I'm like, do I want kids? Do I want to deal with this shit? I don't know.
I mean, listen, the amount of stuff that you're doing, you're gonna need a little wine rob running around at some point. Because you figure if you're going to do all this,
take over the hustle.
just to take over the hustle for you,
Yeah,
because you got a lot of shit going on, so you definitely are going to need one.
So
I think for me, having kids helped as far as, I think, forcing me to sort of grow up in a sense. So I think for me, I definitely needed it.
All right. Well, how old were you when you had the kids?
I was 23 when I had my daughter.
Okay.
So
that's young.
It's young, yeah.
That is really young.
Yeah, but it forced me to grow up. I guess maybe a little bit quicker than I wanted to.
Femi hasn't aged since then, though. Like, you see a picture of Femi. I mean, he used to have this little mustache, but Femi then and Femi now basically look exactly the same, minus the mustache. I like this look better.
And minus the gut, the little gut that I have going on that I'm trying to work on.
It's all right. That's like 3 sit-ups away from being cut up.
Right. There you go.
It's winter.
That and a lot of water.
It's time to bulk for winter, and then you cut it down right before summer.
Okay.
You get shredded right before summer. Isn't that that's
my plan?
That's your process?
Yeah, get my sexy back for 2019 for the summer.
So you come back from Nigeria, raised here, school, college, etc., and then where does the real estate hustle come in?
Actually, my dad used to own a real estate office.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he owned a real estate office.
He did real estate in Nigeria too?
No, not Nigeria. He did it here in Brooklyn, actually in Park Slope. But when you're young, you don't really pay attention to that stuff. But I think
you fight against it.
You sort of fight against it, yeah, because you figure at that age you just want to go to school, and after that go hang out with your friends and do all that, all those types of things. But I think seeing him do the business maybe sort of intrigued me. But more for me, I think I wanted to get into real estate, to have the angle, or to have that first dibs on something, because my goal was to get into the business and then buy a house.
Okay.
So I got licensed.
Buy a house to live in at that point.
Buy a house to live in.
Okay.
So I got licensed in April of 2002. Mm-hmm. Found a house in May, went into contract, and we closed in July. And we closed on a Thursday, and exactly a week later, I get laid off from my job.
So you were a part-time realtor.
I was a part-time realtor at the time, and working
okay.
at 9 to 5.
Working a regular 9 to 5.
Working a regular 9 to 5, yeah. And
you buy the house, and then a week later you get laid off.
Exactly a week later, I get laid off.
In 2002, what was going on in the world? Did the economy just crash with the .com bubble? Or was it about to pop? What happened?
It was about to pop. I remember interest rates at the time were 6%, but for me, because I wasn't at my job for the 2 years. Back then all the regulations were a lot different.
Yeah.
So they ended up giving me 8.5% at the time. For me, I didn't really mind it because I said to myself, you know what, I'll do what I have to do for the next 6 months to a year. We'll pay the bills, we'll do what we need to do, and then after that I can refinance.
Yeah.
Which we ended up doing, and then I ended up getting 5.75. So,
but you get laid off.
And getting laid off, exactly.
So what happens at that point?
I get laid off, and this is July of 2002.
2 kids.
With 2 kids, right. My son is 3, he was 1 in May, so he's 2 months old at the time.
28, right?
Yeah, my wife is working. I'm not one to, I'm not a panic guy. I don't really panic. You just have to try to figure a way out of it. You know what I mean? A lot of the people that I worked with at the time was saying, well, your first payment is not going to be due until September, so you have enough time to sell the house. But, that's how small-minded people think.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people. I don't think like that. It's like you get dealt a hand one way or another. You have to try to fight your way through it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. We we buckled down for a bit. I was trying to look for work again. I couldn't find anything until December of that same year. I started working at Cablevision.
But were you doing the real estate hustle part-time still, or you were trying to get back into the 9 to 5? You haven't really settled back into getting.
Yeah, I was doing a real estate part-time, but in my first year doing real estate, I only sold 1 house. That was me buying a house and my broker taking half.
Okay.
So I didn't know anything about the business, and I learned everything pretty much on the fly.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing that I try to tell people all the time. Like, going back and thinking about it, when we went into contract, I didn't even have the money to, I didn't have my closing costs. I didn't have any of those things. But I went into contract knowing that one way or another, before the time that we closed, I was going to find a way to get the difference of money, get the money together. So like I said, it was a lot that was going on at the time. But one way or another, by the grace of God, I figured it out, and we were able to close on the house, even though I got laid off a week later.
Are you still in that house today?
No,
it's a different house.
Yeah, we stayed there for 4.5 years. We ended up outgrowing the place, and then we ended up buying another house. Still in the same area. I actually wasn't even planning on buying another house at the time. What we were thinking to do was to actually expand the house, because we were living in the Cape. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to expand it, but because of the way the kitchen was set up, we were saying that even if you expand everything else,
it's just easier.
It's still the same house. So one day I'm showing a house, and saying to myself, it was a ranch. So I'm saying to myself, since I have the 2 kids, it could work out because we could all basically be on the same floor.
Nice.
Even though my house wasn't on the market or anything, and we weren't even thinking about selling the house.
So now you go to buy a house that you own a house, it's not listed, and you're like, I'm going to buy this house.
Right.
And you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure it out.
I'm going to figure it out. Yeah.
Which is the kind of the underlying lesson that people need to learn. Like, I think success is 75% balls and 25% preparation.
You're 100% right. It is 75% balls. I try to tell people that all the time. You can't always have everything lined up before you decide to make a move. It's like sometimes you have to jump and build a parachute on the way down.
Without a doubt. So I'm walking on the street the other day with this this kid that I have class at. For those you don't know, I'm getting my master's at NYU in real estate development. So I have this class, feasibility, and there's this kid. He's 26, and he's a brilliant financial mind. Like, this kid can build these Excel models.
Really?
And, like, you've never seen shit like this before. The kid has a brilliant financial mind. But I'm like, yo, you want to do deals? He's like, yeah, but like I feel like I need the money, and I'm like, yo, well, the money's the easiest part of investing, bro.
Right.
Like,
he's probably overthinking it like everybody else does.
He is. He's like, well, you know what? I got a good job now, and what's the opportunity cost of me leaving? I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I'm like, what's the opportunity cost of you staying there?
And the opportunity for when you do leave is there's no ceiling, which a lot of people don't get. You have some that get it and gravitate towards it, and a lot of people get scared of it.
Yeah, and I'm like, what's the opportunity cost of you staying here? He's like, well, I just want the pedigree. Maybe I'll be there for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. Yo, I wish that kid all the luck in the world. I think he's brilliant. I don't think he'll ever do a deal.
I don't think so either. I think unless something life-threatening or something crazy happens, he's not going to do it, because he's probably one of those people that likes to play everything safe. I've just never been one of those people.
That's the thing. It's right. Like, you have to fail to succeed, but if you don't take that step, if you don't try, nothing is going to happen.
Nothing's ever going to happen. You're
happen.
absolutely right, because you have a lot of people who try to plan, like when they want to buy a house, I need to have a certain amount of money for my down payment, a certain amount of money for my closing costs, and a certain amount of money for my nest egg, or a little bit of a pocket. But it just doesn't work out that way. It's like if that's what you're looking to do, you want to plan and have everything laid out a specific way. It's never gonna happen. You're never gonna do it. And I try to tell people that all the time.
The most successful, wealthiest people I know are not even necessarily that smart, but they're like, they react.
Right.
Like they take action.
Right.
And sometimes it doesn't work out, but they keep moving.
But you have to take that as a life lesson. I mean, everything is not always gonna work out, and you figure if you never fail, what do you have to learn from? Because yes, you can always listen to other people, and a lot of people who's dealt with a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of things not working out the way that they want to. But unless you actually do it, what do you actually have to say, you know what, this is what happened to me to get me to this point?
And on top of that, how many people you surround? Listen, we live on Long Island. It's a very affluent community, but at the same time, like, how many people do you meet on a daily basis that are doing great shit like you want to do?
That's true. Not a lot.
No, not a lot at all.
Yeah.
So to take it back, how did you make the transition to real estate full time? So, I mean, I remember off there you were telling me before, you were like, you were working overnights and then hustling real estate during the day, and it was like just,
it was crazy. I'll give people an idea of my schedule. So when I worked at Cablevision, I was working midnight to 8:30, because we had gotten to a point, me and my wife, saying that no one was going to watch our kids. I always wanted to do real estate so that I can spend time with the kids. You know what I mean? Because I always wanted to be there for my kids. That's always been my top priority. So I work midnight to 8:30. I get home, and I worked out in Melville, and I live in Nassau. So I get home about 9:30. My son is still up at the time because he's only 2 months old. I stay up with him or try to go to sleep with him till maybe like 11 or 12 o'clock. After we take a nap, we get up. I need to pick my daughter up from school at 2:30.
Jesus.
So I pick her up from school at 2:30. I'm home with the kids from 2:30 till 5:30 when my wife gets home. So now from 6 to 8, I'm running around with buyers and my appointments, doing real estate from 6 to 8.
Oh, Jesus, really?
Yes. So I need to cut off at 8 o'clock so that I can get home by 8:30 to get something to eat, to take a shower, to go to sleep, and to be up at 11 o'clock so that I can be back to work at midnight. And this was my schedule for about 2 years. 2 years, yeah, about 2 years.
What the fuck?
So, you do what you have to do until you figure the shit out, like you said, because nothing is ever going to be laid out the way that you need it to be laid out. Yeah. But that's what I did, for that time period. And then you say to yourself, you know what, enough is enough. It's time for me to sort of, take that leap of faith. So, I was doing real estate part-time, like you said, at the time. You always try to get yourself to a point where you have maybe like 2 or 3 deals in the pipeline. So you said, you know what, if everything doesn't fall the way that I need to, when these deals close, at least I have some money to sort of, to sort of get through. And that's what I basically did. Well, actually, while I was working at Cablevision, I don't know, I think Cablevision was going through a merger or what have you. I actually ended up getting fired from Cablevision.
Oh, Jesus.
So it just the story gets better and better.
And the hits just keep on coming.
Keep on coming.
Yeah, but again, it goes back to, so I guess, lessons from this. People that are, stop making fucking excuses. Nobody wants to hear it.
Right.
Femi sleeps 2 hours a night with his 2-month-old. He has, what, at that point, how old was your daughter? 2?
She's 197.
4?
This is 2005? 6?
Yeah, 5. I mean, he's working all night. He sleeps for 2 hours. He's taking care of the kids. He's hustling real estate 3 hours and then goes back to work. Like, so I don't want to hear it. I don't want, whatever your excuse is, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm someone, I don't like to hear the excuses, and I don't really relate, I guess, that much with lazy people, because whatever you've been through or whatever you're going through, I've been through that and worse. But one way or another, I find a way to get through it, and you get up every day and you just continue to move because you don't have any choice. You're either going to fold when shit hits the fan, or you're gonna let that, you know what I mean? You're gonna let that make you stronger and continue to push forward, and that's just what I've always done. You know what I mean?
Where do you think that work ethic came from? Do you think it came from your father? Do you think it came from your upbringing in Nigeria?
I think a combination of both. I think my upbringing in Nigeria, and then also my parents. My dad Actually, my dad and my mom, they were both workers. They were both, they did whatever they had to do to, put a hot plate on the table for us, do what they had to do to support us, because it was actually 5 of us. So,
I was going to say, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
Yeah, I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Jesus.
So it's 5 of us. So, you sort of pick up the work ethic from them. You watch them struggle to try to make ends meet, to make things work out for us. And you just try to say to yourself, the older that you get, one way or another, you're going to try to figure it out so that you don't end up in that same position. You know what I mean?
You're the oldest or you're the youngest?
I'm actually right in the middle.
In the middle.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle of everybody. It's crazy.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
So at that point, when you got fired the second time, you're like, that's it. I'm just gonna do real estate.
I'm just gonna concentrate on real estate full time. And that's what I've been doing. I've been doing real estate now full time since October of 2004. And knock on wood, I've been doing it ever since. I mean, the thing about the business, I try to tell people all the time is, it can be a great business when everything is clicking the way it needs to, but when it's a horrible business, that's what really tests your patience and really just your will. That is it's either gonna make you or break you. And for me, like I said, I'm not one of those people. I don't panic, and if I do panic, you will never be able to tell it. I'm not one that's going to, sort of sit back and weep and wallow. I've never been one of those people, because you have a lot of people that are gonna, when shit hits the fan, you're gonna start drinking and start to smoke. But if you're drinking after you're done and you come up off the high, it's like your problems are still there.
There, man.
You did all that for no reason. It's like, what's the point?
A lot of people that have, deuces.
You're doing it.
A lot of people that have turned to that.
Yeah, I mean, you hear a lot of different things, and you see a lot of people who don't handle stress and pressure very well. I don't think a lot of us do, but like I said, I've just been one of those people. When you deal with the pressure, it's going to determine and also make you into the person that I think that you need to be. Like I said, I've never been one of those people. I don't fold very easily under pressure. It's like, whatever happens, you need to continue to move on. You got to get up every day and still put your boots on, put your loafers on, whatever you're doing, get out there and continue to work, because at the end of the day, you still got these people that are dependent on you. So you need to do what you need to do to support those people. They don't want to hear the excuses. The hell with the excuses. It's a bunch of bullshit.
You got a family to take care of.
You got a family to take care of. You got people that are dependent on you. So
you have a drive, you have a dream, you have something you want to achieve. Like, you got to keep pressing for it.
You got to keep pressing for it. It's never going to happen. Easy. I mean, I know a lot of people who, and I think with this social media world that we deal with now, everybody wants that instant gratification. It's like, you think that it's grits or something, or oats. You just add water to it and boom, and the success is going to happen. You and I both know from the things that we've done and what we've talked about, that's just not the way that, that life works.
No. You
got to get out there and go get it, because nobody's going to give it to you. No. Nobody gave me shit.
Don't ask, don't get.
I get out there and I do what I have to do every day.
What's your, so I mean, you obviously, you do a lot of volume. You're a top producer at Century 21, number 2 in Prudential, as we mentioned before, just to say a few. I mean, what's your advice to agents as far as, your marketing strategies? You're like, how do you continue? What was the ramp up like? How long did it take you to get traction once you started full time? And then how do you continue to cultivate that client base to have customers come in?
I think for me, my second year, things really started to pop off a little bit. I was still, thank God, I was still, working full time. I think my second year in the business, I probably did about 60, 70 grand.
Nice.
Working real estate
part time.
Back
then too.
And that's back in, we're talking 2003.
Yeah.
And also still working full time and still running around doing the things that I needed to do. I think for me, I have a knack of, I don't know, working very well with buyers for some reason. In the beginning, I had no choice because I didn't have any listings. You know what I mean? So it's like, at that point, you're sort of trying to get your feet off the ground and you're trying to build your business. So while you're trying to build your business, you have to find out what your niche is. So at that point, I think for me, it was more with working with the buyers, like I said, because I had no listings. So you work with the buyers as best as you can, and you try to do a good job and try to do the right thing by them, so that they can actually start to sing your praises. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I try to tell people all the time. It's more about, you need to try to find your niche. You can't try to be a jack of all trades at the same time. That just doesn't work. You need to find what your strong point is and try to build off of that.
So to this day, would you say most of your business comes via word of mouth, or do you utilize social media? Do you advertise? Like, what's your...
I do utilize social media. Femi the Agent is my handle. Actually, you guys can follow me, keep up with me, and some of the things that I'm doing. But a lot of my business now, I'd say over 75% of my business is all referral, all by word of mouth.
Wow. And mostly buyers?
Buyers and sellers, actually. I'd say probably about maybe 50-50. Sometimes it could be like 60% sellers and then 40% buyers. So it's a combination.
It's a good healthy mix.
It's a nice healthy mix. I mean, I do advertise, and you spend money to do marketing, but the way that my business has been set up and the way that it works for me is, really about referrals from people that I've dealt with in the past, and that's been working for me. So I just try to build and try to work off of my sphere of influence.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think that's always my original mentor Carl had always said to me, like, the most powerful thing is the relationship.
Yeah, I try to tell people that all the time. This business is not about a one shot deal. You do something for someone and that's the end of it. It's if you do a good job by them, you need to try to keep the lines of communication open. Make sure that they can always reach out to you, and you always have some good information to always give them. Like I have a deal that I did recently. I sold a house that I sold to someone 13 years ago. I just resold the house.
Nice.
And I also just sold them a new place. Shout out to Ted and Daphne. So, a lot of that is really, you try your best to stay in contact with the people, that you've dealt with in the past, because those are going to be your cheerleaders in a sense. You know what I mean? They're going to be the ones that are out there singing your praises to people, and they'll let them know that, this is what you've done. And listen, if you are looking to buy or sell, you have to deal with Femi and nobody else. You know what I mean?
Especially now in a digital environment, it's so easy. Like, you have to do a good job because it's so easy for people to either say you're great or you suck.
Or you suck,
and have
right?
Everybody know.
Right. That bad news is always going to travel faster than a lot of good news. I try to tell people that all the time. So it's like, deal with everybody the same way. Deal with them accordingly. And try to, as corny and as cliche as this sounds, treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Word.
I think once you do that, it makes everything that much easier, because you have a lot of people, and I've come across a lot of these jerks and jerk-offs who you do one deal, or you're in the middle of a deal, and now when you see that buyer or that seller again, you got to think twice about what you said to them 2 or 3 days ago because you were full of shit. But it's like, there's no need to. There's so much business out there, and if you're just an ethical person, business is always going to come to you when you least expect it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. I want to talk about how you do Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau, Suffolk, how you have an understanding of all those markets, because that's a lot. I mean, especially when you go into the boroughs, it's like markets are like on a block by block basis.
It is. That's true.
So you're on this block and it's like, all right, something selling for $600,000. You're on that block, something selling for $200,000. I mean, you have zoning, air rights, brick construction. What can you convert? You can convert this into an 8-family. I mean, there's a lot of shit, especially in the boroughs. Like,
there is a lot of shit when it comes to the boroughs. I think for me, because I lived in Brooklyn, pretty much half my life. I went to junior high school, went to high school in Brooklyn. I lived in a lot of different parts of Brooklyn. I lived in East New York. I lived in Bed-Stuy. I lived in Flatbush. Shit. I lived in Coney Island.
When Bed-Stuy was not like,
when my dad had brownstones. Yeah, when he had 5 or 6 brownstones and he was having problems with the tenants and had to let them go for like $190,000 a pop.
Oh my God.
Now he's kicking himself every time he comes to New York, and I'm driving him through the areas. It's like, it's unreal. So because I lived in Brooklyn, half my life, that makes it easy for me to still understand that market. And, I'm in Brooklyn maybe 2 or 3 times a week. After I left home, or once I graduated from high school, I ended up moving to Queens. So I lived in Queens for a little bit, lived in St. Albans. And then, I've lived in Nassau now for almost 20 years. So for me, that helps as far as, having some knowledge or having some understanding of those different areas. But also, you have to also do a lot of research so that you have an idea, like you said, what are the rights for this town? What can you do in this area? What can you not do in that specific area? It's a lot. It's not, I don't want to sit here and make it seem like it's that easy, but I think a lot of it is, also trial and error. You know what I mean? I mean, if it's something that's out of my scope, then I'll try to reach out to people that I know that are also in the business. If it's something that I can't handle, I'll, refer it out to somebody else and let them deal with it. But I try to take the time and do the research for those different areas so that I can do the right thing by the buyer or the seller that I'm dealing with. You know what I mean?
No, that's smart. So, I mean, basically, you're constantly educating, you're constantly learning. It's not like I'm just sending these people a list. You have to understand the market. You have to be able to give value. You're not just putting in an offer and making phone calls. You're understanding.
You have to understand the market, like you said, and I think for me, because I'm in the streets every day, it makes it easier for me to understand what I'm dealing with, to understand what I'm actually doing out there. You're doing the client a disservice by not educating yourself. I think my thing, since I've been in the business, is to make sure that I try to do one educational conference or something like that, once something different every year, to sort of try to keep up on what's going on. You know what I mean? But you also have to educate yourself. You have to stay in tune with what's going on with the market. You have a lot of dinosaurs agents who did continue at their first year in the business and have no clue on what's going on right now. But it's like the market is changing so much, and you have to speak to a lot of different people. You have to have relationships with people that are actually doing the business so that you actually have an idea of what's actually going on out there. You know what I mean?
I want to talk about your sneaker problem.
Oh, Lord.
For those men out there, or even women, it'll make you feel better. For those men who feel that their wife has an insane amount of shoes, or for those women out there who feel guilty that they have, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 pairs of shoes. Femi, how many pairs of sneakers you got?
Can I just say 150?
Is that on the low end?
On the low end.
Femi, I mean, your wife is a saint. She just accepted it at this point.
I mean, yeah, because she knows that it's a 20-year sneaker habit. It's not something that I just started yesterday. I've been loving sneakers since I was in high school.
You got a vault for this stuff? Like what?
I have a closet. Yeah, I have a closet downstairs.
You need a basement. It's like a full basement for this.
Yeah, like I have a whole room just filled with just my sneakers.
Is there any, like, you go out, you buy what you like, or is there any kind of strategy with this? Like, how does...
There's no real strategy.
How did this even happen?
Well, I think back in high school, you know what it is. When you're in high school, it's you want to look fresh, you want to have the right gear on, and you want to have the right sneakers on.
I feel like, I mean, listen, there's guys that are really big into sneakers now, like Jordans, this and that. Right. I feel like 20 years ago, like, you pioneered that shit. Like, nobody was doing that 20 years ago.
No one was. You're absolutely right. I think for me, when I was younger, maybe I was scarred because it was 5 of us. A lot of the sneakers that I wanted, my dad wasn't buying me. So I think...
Did you wear hand-me-down sneakers from your older brothers?
Not hand-me-downs, but, back in the days when we had to go school shopping, my dad would give us all $200 a piece to go school shopping. Mm-hmm. You and I both know $200 doesn't go that far. I mean, right nowadays you can barely buy a pair of decent sneakers for $200. No. So I think maybe I was scarred since I was younger.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah. The psychology of children is really interesting.
Yeah.
So that makes sense now. Yeah. No, I think that's actually true. Okay. I think that's a fact.
That's what happened.
So the fact of you always wanting, fly sneakers back in the day, and you couldn't afford it because you only had $200, you had to stretch to get a whole wardrobe. Right. Now you're like, I've arrived.
I'm in a position where I can do it now.
I'll buy a pair of sneakers every damn day if I want.
If I need to, just to mentally put myself where I need to
be. Just because you can. Wow.
Just because I can, yeah.
That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, but then I mean, I try to tell my wife too. Like, the sneakers are also, you're laughing. It's also an investment. I mean, you buy them.
Those things are worth serious money. Those Jordans are worth freaking money.
Yeah, they're worth money. I actually went to a sneaker place in Queens the other day, and I took I think 5 pairs of my sneakers, some of the ones that I didn't wear, to get rid of them, and left out of the place with a check. So.
You sold them?
Yeah, I sold them. Some of the sneakers you'll buy when they first come out, and maybe for whatever reason, after you buy them, you decide you don't want them for whatever the reason is. You can still always sell them back. So, you always try to, whatever sneakers you buy, if you end up not wearing them, as long as you can sell it back for what you paid for it, then it's a wash.
Those classic Jordans from like 20 years ago. Right? With is it 20 years ago those things were around? Or more? 25 years ago?
25 years. They actually we're on Jordan 32 now, so you're talking 32 years the Jordans have been around.
Okay, so yeah, let's say 25 years, like those classic Jordans from back in the day that we all had. If you have a new pair of those things today, brand new, never wore them from 25 years ago, what are those things going for?
Maybe about $25,000.
What? What?
About 15 to 20,000,
What?
depending on the sneaker and depending on how limited the sneaker was.
Holy shit!
You can get some decent money for it. So,
Wow.
yeah. So it's not, like you said, there's a little bit of, I guess, strategy to it. My thing is not I don't want to buy a sneaker that everybody else can get their hands on. So you'll always want to get the most limited pairs where maybe they made a sneaker and they only dropped 20,000 for the whole worldwide, or even less than that. So, the limited the sneaker, the better that it is.
How do you get them though? You have like a couple spots that just get.
I have a couple of sneaker connects that I deal with, and one of my boys that I've known for since high school actually runs one of the stores. So a lot of what I need, I can just make a phone call. shout out to my connect.
Yo, you guys got it. Femi, how do they follow you? Femi's posting pictures of sneakers literally at least weekly. What's your handle on Instagram?
Femi the Agent.
Femi the Agent.
You can keep up with my real estate stuff, keep up with my sneaker section, and get an idea of what I'm doing out there.
I get the last thing that I want to touch on, which is huge. Like we were saying before, I teach continuing ed classes. I try to do at least one a month on real estate investing for realtors, where I teach more of like a passive strategy. You've done what every agent wants to do, but like very few agents have been able to do, which is balance a career in real estate, selling real estate,
right,
and then also doing flips of your own, like anywhere from 2 to 4 a year. Right?
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, that's huge. How do you do that? How do you maintain, your client base and sell, dozens and dozens of houses, and then still have the time and the ability to manage and pull?
Well, I mean, it's really about a balance, man. Me dealing with buyers and sellers is always the primary focus, and that's always the primary goal. But you have to do that well enough so that you're making a decent amount of money where you can actually take that to invest in properties. I do have help. My wife helps me out with a lot of stuff. When it comes to the colors and the color schemes and the tiles, we're not too good with that stuff. So
No.
You
don't try either.
Don't try it, man.
You see these guys flipping these houses, the tile is like, oh, what the?
It's so hideous. You're like, what were you thinking when you picked this up? Like, did Stevie Wonder pick your tiles? Like, what were you thinking?
Man, just listen. There's things that we're good at as men, and there's things that we're not.
And things we definitely need to stay away from. So, what you're not good at, get some help. Get somebody to help you out with it. Like I said, I have my wife to help me out with that stuff when it comes to the color schemes and things like that. So, that helps a little bit with the balance. I mean, you see the way that I run, that I'm running constantly. I'm a little bit of a lunatic out there when I'm running around on a daily basis. So, you just try to look for the deals and try to look for the things that you feel actually make sense, where you can make a few dollars on. And like you said, I try to tell people that all the time. Real estate is the way for you to build wealth, and
without a doubt. And I mean, and I see being a real estate agent as an asset. Like I tell the agents all the time, I'm like, listen, being a real estate agent is a great thing. Other realtors will work with you. They don't everyone's here to do deals. If you do the right thing and you deliver and you make sure that everybody makes money,
right.
You have,
and you're a man, you're a person of your word. You do what you say you're actually going to do. The agents out there are going to respect you. So that's always the first place that the deals can always come from. Will be the other agents that you've done deals with and done business with, because they might get a listing that needs a shitload of work and they don't know what to do with it, but they know that you're actually buying and selling properties. So they may look to you to say, you know what, I have something good that I think you may like, and that's where part of the where part of those deals can come from. You know what I mean?
Do you try
doing the right thing by people?
I mean, obviously, time management is a huge thing, like you said before. It's about being efficient.
I think that's been everybody's problem, time management.
I think that's what everybody struggles with,
right,
all the time. I think all of us struggle with that,
right.
But do you try to keep, when you do the flips, do you try to keep them in a certain geographic area? You don't care, wherever the money is, you're gonna go, or do you try to stick to Nassau or the boroughs or Suffolk? How do you?
I mean, right now, I'll do stuff in really it's where the money is. But a lot of what I've done in the last couple of months would be Nassau and also Queens. So you always have to look at the property. If you don't have an eye for it, you have to get someone, someone as yourself.
You done flips in Queens?
Yeah, I did something in Queens Village that I actually sold. We closed on it The day after my birthday, actually April we closed on it.
How is it working doing renovations and stuff? Because I've never done stuff in the boroughs. I only do stuff in Long Island, and Long Island's tough enough with the building departments and the bullshit. Is it harder in the boroughs? The congestion, you can't get dumpsters in there. Like, it's just everything is old as shit.
It is a little harder. In the boroughs, like you said, things are so congested there that it's a whole process. I mean, I don't have to tell you because you deal with this shit on a daily basis, but it's not easy. You have to really, before you jump into it and buy a property, you go there, you scope out the property, you see the amount of work that it needs, get yourself a general contractor, get an idea of what the what the property needs, and just try to budget your money correctly. Don't just jump out the window and say that you want to do a flip because you see other people doing it and you think
because it looks sexy.
Because it looks sexy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and everybody doesn't do it. So keep that in mind. How did you
get into your first flip? Like, how did this come about?
I actually did my first flip, I'd say probably about 10 years ago.
Shit.
Myself and a friend of mine that I've known actually since 4th grade. We bought a house around the corner from where I'm living at right now. And the house came up on the market. We looked at it. We said, you know what, this house, the person that owned it has been here for over 40 years and hasn't done a thing to it. So something like this, we feel like we can get our feet wet, buy it, renovate it, and sell it. And we did. I think we made maybe about $60,000 once everything was said and done.
That's a lot of money, man.
Yeah,
especially for then.
Yeah, for then. For the two of us, we split that, and we ended up going and buying a 2-family property after that. But that was
this was
my
2008.
thing.
This is post crash.
Yeah.
Okay.
2007 actually.
Right.
Right when the crash was about to happen.
Oh, so you got out right before?
I got out right before.
Wow, bro.
So lucky. I felt it a little bit because when we were going to sell the property, things were starting to slow down. So the margins or the numbers that you thought you were going to see, you weren't seeing at that time because the market was on the way down. So we were lucky that we got out.
Wow.
And still made a few dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, we got lucky.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, man.
Yeah. But I think with everything that you do, there always has to be something else that you're looking to do past it. Like you can be a real estate agent and, if you want to be a real estate agent for 20, 30 years, that's fine. But for me, everything that I do, there always has to be some sort of progression. You know what I mean?
No.
So that's always how you have to set yourself up, as far as your goals are concerned.
If you're not growing, you're dying, man.
If you're not growing, what's the point of doing it? You just feel like you're just sort of on autopilot, or you're not doing shit. You're not doing anything. You're not progressing. You're not moving forward in life. So that was how I got started with the flipping, and then I sort of got away from it after we did that one and started more concentrating on trying to deal with the crazy real estate market, because once shit hit the fan, no one was really buying houses the way that, they're buying now.
That's what I was going to ask you. You got the flip, you made some money, which is awesome. You got out before the crash, then the crash happened. What is it like to be a full-time agent living through that?
It's not easy. To be honest with you, I'll keep it 100 with you. It's very difficult. It sucks.
Was it 2 years of just like there's nothing happening?
It was like 2 years of hell. And for me at the time, we had 2 rental properties. We owned one in Canarsie, myself and my wife, and me and my boy owned one in Bushwick, and we were having problems with the tenants. So at this point, my overhead at that time was probably $10,000 a month.
Shit.
And you're not selling any houses.
Wow.
No one's buying houses. So you sort of have to pull back and, sort of restructure. You know what I mean? So it's never easy, but one way or another, you have to, you get dealt a bad hand. Like I said before, shit happens. One way or another, you got to find your way through it. A lot of people got out of the business in 07 and 08 to go get a job, go get a 9-to-5, and, say that they're never going to do real estate again. But, for me, one way or another, I stuck in there, and, like I said, I downsized, got rid of my cars. I had a Range Rover and the 7 Series at the time, got rid of the cars and, sort of downsized because shit was really tough at that point. But, one way or another, you just have to try to fight your way through it. It's not, when you're going through that time period, it's never easy. We all dealt with it, but, you come out a smarter person. You know what I mean?
I think people have to understand something. that nothing lasts forever. There's there's peaks and valleys with everything.
Right.
So you can't live like the year you're making the most money. You can't live like that. Like you're making that money every year.
That's the problem. That's the problem I think with a lot of agents and maybe just a lot of people in general.
Yeah. You
can't make $100,000 a year and drive $100,000 car. Like you're hustling ass backwards.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that do it. I mean, I know a lot of people that do real estate, make 6 figures and are broke by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And my thing was to say to myself that I don't want to be one of those agents. You know what I mean? I've dealt with that. You've gone through the bad periods, but the older that you get, you have to try to work a little bit smarter. You know what I mean? And when you say working smarter, whether it's buying an investment property, whether it's buying a property to flip, you just have to try to find ways to, I don't know, to stretch your tolerance level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like what. Especially today, like the world moves so fast and things change so much. Like,
right.
what's the end game? You know, as much as I don't want to grow up, like, I'm damn near 40 years old. Like, what's the end game? What's going to take care of you later?
Later, yeah. I don't want to grow up either. I'm a large 44-year-old child myself. You know what I mean? I can say that with confidence. You know what I mean? But it's always, I think whatever you do, like you said, there always have to be some sort of growth. And what are your plans? What is the point of you doing real estate? You know, real estate can be a great business. You can make a decent living at it, but is that the end all? Is that what you're looking to do it for? You're looking just to make a nice living and that's the end of it? That for me is not, that's not what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to, support my family, but then also try to, establish some sort of legacy behind it.
Nice. So where do you see the next 5 years of your real estate career going?
For me, I see myself, getting into more investments, trying to buy some multifamily buildings like nice. 10-unit family, 20 families, things like that. I'm looking to grow, man. I think, like you said before, whatever you're looking to do, there always has to be some sort of growth. I love real estate. I love what I do. I love working with buyers and sellers, and I think that's what for me makes my job a little bit easier. Compared to, I guess, some people that do it and have a hard time at it. But I love what I do, and I think, for me, it's just, it's about the growth. There has to be some sort of growth. Whatever you're looking to do, whether you're working a 9 to 5, whether you're a car salesman, you have to be looking to own a fleet of dealerships at the end of it. Whether you work at a car wash, you have to be looking to own a car wash at the end of it. You know what I mean? There always has to be some sort of growth behind it. If there's no growth, like, what's the point of you doing it? It makes no sense.
Nah, listen.
Unless you just want to be out there just living. It's like, to me, that just doesn't make any sense.
I don't think I could have said it any better. How people want to follow you? They want to see what you're doing. They want to check the hustle, the sneakers, the flips, everything. One more time, where can they find you?
You can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. For whoever still uses Twitter, at Femi the Agent. And if you need to speak to me, 917-337-3727. That's my cell number, and I do pick up the phone. I do answer my phone.
Yes.
Unlike some other agents, you know what I mean?
Nah, that's true. I mean,
you got to be responsible when it comes to this business. That's how the ones that sleep at the wheel are the ones that, the early bird gets the worm, as they say. So you got to answer your phone.
Listen, I appreciate you coming down. I appreciate the love, your unwavering friendship. You're the man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
it.
Appreciate you.
Again, I'm the handsome home buyer. You got a house that smells like cat pee. I'm your man. 516-777 sold. You need permits, plans, advice, agents. You need a free CO search done before you take a listing so you could strut into that appointment looking like the man, A, and then B, not get to the closing and find out you had no permit for that deck and you're about to get paid and now you have to wait a month. 516-513-8838. Call the captain, all right? That's it. We're out.
And before we get off, I can say whoever does need a permit, you definitely need to give my boy a call. I've dealt with a lot of expediters and a lot of people that are full of shit. Half of them don't answer the phone. You can never find them when you need them. Definitely give my boy a call. He's someone that will answer the phone and get the job done for you at a reasonable price.
We're not perfect, but we work our ass off for you guys.
There you go.
We're out. Later.